Welcome to the show, Monday Grades. I'm, of course, your host, Wes Huber. It was an interesting Sunday, to say the least, in Week 12. And before we pass out any opinions, let's save them for the individual gradings. And the first, the A plus, is Mike White. Zach Wilson, you're not getting that job back, at least while White's playing like this. 22 out of 28, completed 79% of his attempts for 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, had a very sexy 149.3 passer rating, 11.3 yards per attempt. And allow me to remind you that the weather was pretty bad in that game, and he was still airing it out with just putting the ball on a rope. Very strong arm, and he knows how to actually find Elijah Moore. I think White is there to stay. Zach Wilson, man, you're just hoping for an injury, and I'm not even sure that you'd play ahead of Joe Flacco. Moving on to Trevor Lawrence, and it's we look at the class, the 2021 quarterback class, and I think it's come down to two players. It's Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Mac Jones, I think we know what he is at this point. Barring a massive improvement, it's between Fields and Lawrence. I'm definitely leaning on the side of Fields, but Lawrence has a lot of upside here. So and he's been up and down, but in the ups, he's been really good. And this one may have been his best performance of the year. 29 out of 37, 78%. He had 321 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 129.8 passer rating, averaged 8.7 yards per attempt, led Jacksonville on a final drive come from behind victory over Baltimore, 28-27. Now, the A plus for at running back is a no brainer. I don't think anyone's going to be guessing on this one. Josh Jacobs ran away with the A plus here. 33 carries, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6.9 yards per attempt by grounds, 674.0 on 7 targets by air. Oddly enough, 21 minutes into the game, Jacobs had 0 first downs, and 8 of his 9 carries went for 4 or fewer yards. He ended the game with 5 first downs. Again, very weird considering he ran the ball 30 times for 229 yards. And only 6 of those carries went for 10 yards, but 116 of those yards were combined on his 2 touchdowns, which was 51%. And 20 out of his 33 carries went for 4 or fewer, which was 61%. He also tackled both of the interceptors on Derek Carr's passes, so he tossed that in there. They won this game 40-34. Miles Sanders looked very good last night. He gets an A for Philadelphia. 21, 143, 2. He averaged 6.8 per carry, and he also caught all 3 of his targets for 17 yards. So he had 5 first downs, which was 33% of either a first down or a touchdown. He had 4 carries of 10 plus, which was 19%. And 17 touchdown yards, which was 12%. And he also recovered a Jalen Hurts fumble, which obviously was very important in a 40-33 victory over Green Bay. The A plus at wide receiver for me is as significantly ahead of the rest of the field as Jacobs was, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown. So the one thing you won't find in any box score, the only way you'll find it is by looking at the actual plays, and it's still difficult to see what's going on prior to the throw. And it's also you need to have a little bit of knowledge on what type of coverage it is, but they were doubling Amon-Ra St. Brown the whole game. 33 routes, 10 targets. He caught 9 for 122 yards and a touchdown. He had 7 first downs, so 89%. Excuse me, that's a little bit lower. I think it's about 81%. Went for a touchdown or a first. He averaged 3.70 yards per route run, 13.6 yards per reception, and a 150.8 targeted passer rating, which was just a few yards away from perfect. This was just a dominant performance from Amon-Ra. Very nearly led the Lions to defeat the Bills. So the A grade is Chris Godwin. And a part of this grade is the fact that we're seeing a healthy Chris Godwin finally. I've heard it like he had a decent game 2 weeks ago prior to the bye, and I heard everyone say, "Oh, he's finally healthy." No, he wasn't quite there. I didn't think earlier in the game he wasn't. I didn't see the same type of explosiveness, but this was the game for sure. 44 routes, 13 targets. He caught 12 for 110 and a tutty and 5 first downs. So 50% went for a touchdown or a first. Averaged 2.5 yards per route run, 9.2 yards per reception, a 127.6 targeted passer rating. But they lost that game 23-17 in overtime. It was a really strange game, and I'll wait until we get into the grades to kind of explain why I'm saying that. But yeah, very strange one. So for the B grades at quarterback, we have Justin Herbert, 35 out of 47. 74%, 274 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 109.7 passer rating. That all sounds like A-worthy, right? I mean, and he also led the team in rushing with 4 carries for 38 yards. That's until we look at, 5.8 yards per attempt. I mean, it took just tons of throws for Herbert to reach these numbers. They did come away with the victory, 25-24 over Arizona, and his opponent, Kyler Murray, was actually the quarterback in the winning Millie Maker lineup. All right, the other quarterback with a B grade, Jalen Hurts. He didn't have the greatest game through the air. He went 16 out of 28, 57%. 153 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 96.3 passer rating, only 5.5 yards per attempt. Green Bay's secondary definitely came to play. My boy Rasul Douglas, man, he's just got a beast game. But Hurts definitely gets a B, maybe even a B plus for going 17, 157, 0 on the ground. He did fumble that one, and which was recovered by Sanders, and they won this game 40-33. It was an interesting performance there from Philadelphia. But anyway, and what was most concerning about Philadelphia is how well or how good they made Jordan Love look late in the game. But Rachaad White definitely gets a B here, and the other B at running back goes to Austin Eckler, and I just say that because these guys remind me of each other quite a bit. I don't think Rachaad White has the girth, the body girth to handle 20 carries a game. I think keeping him at around 12 to 15 is right where he needs to be. So he needs to play for like a pass heavy type of offense, and this is obviously the perfect setup right now. I'm not sure, though, that he's ready for RB1 responsibilities. I think they need to get Fournette back in there just to take the early down, short yardage stuff, or excuse me, not early down, but the short yardage stuff away from Rachaad for sure. But he went 1464, 4.6 yards per carry. But through the air, he caught all 9 for 45 yards, and he looked good doing it too. Just plucking the ball out of the air, no bobbles or anything like that. He only had 2 first downs on the ground, which was 14%, and he had 2 runs of 10 plus, which was 14%. I thought he was going to go just blow up for a monster game when he opened the game with like a 28-yard run, I think. But ended up 11 of his 14 carries went for 4 yards or fewer for 79%. And they lost that game 23-17. It's just, you hear me say, oh yeah, Chris Godwin, A, Rachaad White, B. Like, why didn't the Buccaneers win this game? But Austin Eckler, only 5 carries the whole game, 20 yards, averaged 4 yards per carry, but he caught 11 of his 15 targets for 60 yards and a touchdown. He only had 1 first down rushing, so 20% were first downs, and 0 runs of 10 plus. And 3 of his 5 carries went for 4 yards or fewer, which is 60%. But he caught the game-winning touchdown with just a few seconds remaining. And they won that game. So I mean, he was beast. He was top 5 fantasy point production, even with only 5 carries. All right, Garrett Wilson, man, he looks so good. So 24 routes, 8 targets, caught 5 for 95 yards, 2 touchdowns, did it with the wind just going crazy. He had 3 first downs, so 100% of his receptions went for a touchdown or a first. He had 62 touchdown yards. That was 65%, 3.96 yards per route run, 19 yards per reception, 143.2 targeted passer rating. It wasn't on par with St. Brown and Godwin as far as volume is concerned, but man, Wilson looked really good here, and they won that game 31-10. Zay Jones, the out of nowhere performance here, 37 routes, 14 targets, 11 receptions, 145 yards. He had 7 first downs, which was 64% of his receptions, 3.92 yards per route run, 13.2 yards per reception, a 109.8 targeted passer rating, and he caught the game-winning 2-point conversion. Again, they won that game and upset Baltimore. So as far as the most significant second half improvements at quarterback, the first one goes to Dak Prescott. So first half, he was 10 out of 16, 63%, not too good, 116 yards, but he threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, a 44.8 passer rating, 7.3 yards per attempt. Now, the second half, though, he was 11 out of 14, that's 79%, 20% improvement, had 145 yards, 2 tutties, no interceptions, 149.4 passer rating. That's a 70% improvement, 10.4 yards per attempt. That's a 30% improvement, and they won that game over the Giants. Very important game, too. Kyle Allen, man, we're about to get into it here with this Miami-Houston game. But Kyle Allen, first half, 10 out of 16, 63%. He only passed for 49 yards. I mean, he had a difficult time staying upright. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, a 40.9 passer rating. He averaged 3.1 yards per attempt. Second half, though, 16 out of 23, 70%. That was a modest 10% improvement, but 166 yards. He had 1 touchdown, 1 INT, had a 103.9 passer rating. That's a 61% improvement, 7.2 yards per attempt, 58% improvement, and they lost that game 30-15. Nick Chubb, he didn't do much in the first half. 8 carries, 34 yards. He caught another pass, so that's 4.3 yards per carry. He caught a pass for 16 yards on his 1 target. He only had 2 first downs with 25%, 2 runs of 10 plus, 25%. He had 4 of his 8 carries went for 4 or fewer, 50%. But the second half, and it really wasn't about an improvement in efficiency. It was about just giving the guy the ball so that he could get into the zone. And that's what he did. 18 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. 5% improvement in yards per carry, so nothing significant. He only had 2 first downs, which is kind of crazy. 17%, either a touchdown or a first, so that actually went down. He did have 3 runs of 10 plus, but that again went down from 25% to 17%. He had 3 touchdown yards, which is an important touchdown since it won the game. 12 of his 18 carries went for 4 yards or fewer, which was 67%, and they won that game 23-17 in OT. Ramondre Stevenson, man, what is going on with New England? 1 minute you don't want to play Mac Jones, and then the next you feature him like you're in a pass first offense. And this listing for Stevenson's all about the receiving work, since he somehow only saw 7 carries, which is crazy. It wasn't even it was a poor weather game as well. So 3 carries, 21 yards in the first half, 7 yards per carry, 3 catches, 9 yards on 4 targets through the air. In the second half, 4 carries, 15 yards, but he caught 6 passes. He caught all 6 of his targets for 67 yards. And unfortunately, they lost that game still. Big shock there. Don't feature Mac Jones as your offense. So wide receiver, man, T. Higgins. So first half, he was 17 routes, two receptions, 11 yards on 4 targets, 0.65 yards per route run. I was instantly regretting my investments there. But the second half, another 17 routes. He caught 5 of his 5 targets for 103 yards and a touchdown, and he was the main catalyst to putting that game away. 6.06 yards per route run in the second half. That's an 89% improvement. They won 20-16 over Tennessee. Christian Watson. Now, I think if we need any evidence whatsoever that some serious coaching changes need to be made in Green Bay, it's the usage of Christian Watson. So he was finally on the field in this one, but listen to this. So 12 routes in the first half. He was targeted twice. He caught one for 21 yards. Even though he was only targeted once, he still averaged 1.75 yards per route run. Second half, 13 routes. He caught 3 of his 4 targets for 89 yards and a touchdown. 6.85 yards per route run. 74% improvement there. They lost that game. No shock there. Why are they not featuring Christian Watson? It took Jordan Love coming into the game to throw the touchdown to him. Part of that is on Aaron Rodgers as well. All right, here's my rant of the show. For the D grades, we start with Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel. Tua Tagovailoa, first half, he was 20 out of 34. It was only 59%, but he was not holding back anything, going right after the Texans defense. Had at the half 278 yards, a touchdown, and he averaged 8.2 yards per attempt. He was on pace for 556 yards, 33.2 fantasy points. That would have made him the QB1 on the main DFS slate. The result, 16 fantasy points. He was the QB 12 and scored fewer points than Sam Darnold. Why? Terron Armstead got hurt in the third quarter after Tua had just drove right down the field to put the score 30-0. And I get it, 30-0, right? And Tua took a couple of sacks. So they took him off the field to protect him. Tua's been sacked at the lowest rate in the NFL this year. I mean, give me a break. The guy knows how to protect himself. And it definitely affected the rest of the team. Tyreek Hill, first half, 5 catches, 69 yards on 8 targets. He was on pace for 10 catches for 138 yards and 26.8 fantasy points, which would have made him the wide receiver 5. He ended up with 15 fantasy points and as the wide receiver 15. Jalen Waddle, into the first half, he caught 4 of his 7 targets for 80 yards, on pace for 8 catches, 160 yards, and 27 fantasy points. He would have been the wide receiver 4 on pace, and the result, it was 13.5 fantasy points, wide receiver 17. I lost personally $300 in entry fees into the Millie Maker. And I don't track how much I'm winning during the main slate, so I don't know how much I lost there, but I know it was significant. Yeah, that was tough, and it definitely didn't help fantasy owners either in season long and dynasty. Aaron Rodgers gets the other D here. So 11 out of 16. I know he left with a rib injury. I really don't care. If you're hurt, then, you got to leave. I get it, right? But he didn't look great when he was on the field. It's 11 out of 16, 69%, 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, he also threw 2 interceptions. And he didn't target Christian Watson, which is just a crime, man. And they lost that game 40-33 to drop to 4-8. Maybe he's done in Green Bay. Who knows? Saquon Barkley, 11 carries, 39 yards, 1 touchdown, 3.5 yards per attempt, and 1 first down, 1 run of 10 plus. 10 of his 11 carries went for 4 yards or fewer, which is 91%. And his receiving work didn't bail anyone out as he caught 4 of 6 for 13 yards. Derrick Henry, 17 carries, 38 yards, 2.2 per attempt, 0 first downs. one first down, one run of 10 plus, 6%. 14 of his 17 carries went for 4 yards or fewer, so 82%. Now, he did catch 3 passes on 3 targets for 79 yards, but he also fumbled at the conclusion of his 69-yard reception. So he doesn't get bumped from that. It was the defense was just, they weren't even looking at him, and they lost that game 20-16. Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay, so it's not really that bad numbers wise. 16 routes, 3 targets. He caught all 3 for 38 yards. All 3 went for first downs. It was 2.38 yards per route run, 12.7 per reception. Not too bad. He only played 38% of the plays. Fresh off of a concussion, yes. But just don't take the field if you aren't 100%. You get a D minus. Christian Kirk, 37 routes, 9 targets. He went 446, 2 first downs, 1.24 yards per route run, 11.5 yards per reception, and a 60.4 targeted passer rating. They won that game 28-27. Now, he did catch an important first down on the final drive. I'll give him that. But you look at what Zay Jones did, that was he had Brandon Stevens in coverage on him, and he couldn't get it done. You get a D. Russell Wilson, this guy is dead to me. I don't care if you have nobody, literally nobody to throw the ball to. This is terrible. Denver has only scored 20 points twice this year, and never above, I don't think they've gone above 25. Maybe 26 in one game. I can't remember. I know one was 23. But they averaged 12.6 points per game in their other 9. And you lost to Sam Darnold, and he doubled you up in points. Russell Wilson, you have fallen from grace. 19 for 35. You completed 54% of your passes. You weren't looking in the right places, obviously. 142 passing yards. You threw a touchdown. Big whoop. 73.7 passer rating. That's Zach Wilson level. 4.1 yards per attempt. And again, nothing on the ground. Well, nothing of note, at least. Jacoby Brissett. So, yeah, the other F grade this week goes to the winning quarterback in the Buccaneers game. And, it just kind of explains how strange of a game it was. Now, the weather was very bad, I shouldn't even say it was very bad. It was forecasted to be very bad. And then I woke up yesterday, and it was actually a lot milder than in several other places. So, there were some stronger average winds, but nothing that should have led to 23 out of 37, 62%, 210 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 75.3 passer rating, 5.7 yards per attempt. And yeah, again, they won. Christian McCaffrey. So you had to pay an arm and a leg for this guy, either in your draft or in DFS this week. He tries to say that he was injured prior to the game. Maybe tell everyone this before instead of after, because he left late with knee irritation. And I mean very late, but just very convenient injury information. He went 11-32-0, 2.9 yards per attempt, 1 first down, 0 of 10 plus. 9 of his 11 went for 4 or fewer, and he only caught 4. He caught 4 of 6, but only 17 yards. They won that game 13-0. Nothing that he did to help win. And the rookie face plant of the week again is Dameon Pierce. 5 carries, 8 yards, 1.6 yards per carry. Obviously, 0 first downs, 0 runs of 10 plus. He actually had a run that went for more than 4 yards, but he was outgained by both Dare Ogunbowale and Kyle Allen. He caught 3 of his 6 targets for 8 yards. What a waste of space. And they lost that game. Mike Evans. Okay, this concludes the crazy matchup there between Cleveland and Tampa Bay, because I didn't mention Tom Brady because he was actually pretty efficient with his throws, and I didn't see any that were really off target. They were all pretty tight. And so no issues there. Mainly it was Mike Evans. Mike Evans he was just sucking up the joint on that side. And, 41 routes, 9 targets. You catch 2 for 31. I think one of his catches went for 28. So take that away, and he did nothing. He had 1 first down, 0.76 yards per route run, 15.5 yards per reception, a 41.4 targeted passer rating. He also erased his own 16-yard catch with an offensive pass interference. Yeah. Okay, Tyler Boyd. Joshua Kalu was in coverage, so it can't knock Tyler Boyd too much here. But he still gets an F because it's this game plus every other game since Jamar Chase has been out that he's done nothing to help us. And 31 routes, 4 targets. He caught 2 for 16 yards, had 1 first down, 0.52 yards per route run, 8 yards per reception, 60.4 targeted passer rating. And those numbers kind of sum up everything he's done game to game since Chase went out. They won that game, nothing due to his efforts. That's it for Monday Grades. We'll be back next week after week 13. Catch you then.